2020, you're planning to be an entrepreneur. I already know it. You're excited. You're motivated. You have ideas. You're gonna kill it 2020. You're telling everybody about it. But I want to share something with you that no one ever told me. No one did. No, when I was taking all these risks and when I was like going through this roller coaster, no one pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you know what? Hey, man, I noticed that you have this, this hustle. I noticed you have this drive. I just want to give you a little quick tips that'll help you out." And so over the course of many years now, after taking risk and failures and back and forth, all this crazy roller coaster ride, I've learned something. And I've learned that highly successful entrepreneurs, they're not like random risk takers. They don't just one day have an idea and say, "Oh, I'm just going to do this." Every idea that runs through their mind, they figure out what are the calculated risks on that. If I do this, what are my risks? If I do this action, what is the cause of that action? And what they do, they say, "Okay, you know what? These are all my ideas. Let me figure out all the calculated risk. And let me figure out if I can avoid some of those. And I'm going to go with the one that I feel more confident about based off the risk factor, not based off what my gut says." They're looking at numbers now. They're saying, "Okay, you know what? This idea didn't look so good, but when I looked at the calculated risk, it's starting to look pretty good." I'll give you an example. Like let's say you have $20,000. And people are saying, "Man, you need to invest it in the stock market. You need to invest it in Bitcoin or something, something you don't even know, like you're not even familiar with it, but you kind of like want to get on this wave because everybody's talking about it. You feel hyped up about it, like, "Oh, my friends are doing it. I'm going to do it because I have the money," right? Stop and ask yourself, what are my calculated risk of investing that money? Do I know this industry? Do I know where it's going to be in 5 years? What is the market telling me about this risk? How much control do I have over that, that asset? Look at all those risks. And then you say, "Okay, you know what? I have 20 grand. What if I put it into like some real estate?" That's why a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business owners, they built their wealth through real estate. And let me tell you why. Because they said, "Okay, if I have $20,000, I can leverage that and get into a property that's worth $100,000 because I'm going to use my 20,000, put 20% down, get the 100,000. Now I have more control over this asset. I have more options, and my risk factor, I can change it." And let me give you an example. Let's say if you have a property that's worth 100,000, you put 20,000 down. Now you got a property that's worth 100. Now you got to manage it. You can say, "Okay, if I put a bad tenant in there, if I don't take my time and put a good tenant in there, what are my risks? Okay, they're not going to pay the rent. They're going to destroy the property. You're going to have to evict them. Okay, how can I avoid some of those risks? Calculated risk. Okay, well, let me look into some property management information. Let me look at the laws. Let me figure out how I'm going to write my lease agreements." And so now you have more control over that asset. Okay, and so that's what a calculated risk is. That's why if you ask anybody, they can say, "Man, put your money in real estate," because you can actually increase the value of your own property. It's called forced appreciation, where you get a property, you fix it up, and what happens is it has to go up in value because it looks a lot nicer. So you forced appreciation on an asset. You can't do that with stock. See, the difference is it's called calculated risk. And you always want to look at your first, second, third consequences of a decision you make. Okay, before you make a decision, because entrepreneurs, they get all hyped up. More likely they're with a group of people, they're with a group of entrepreneurs, and they're all gonna agree because everybody's hyped up. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's hyped up. They're like, "Dude, you should do it." Hyped up. Stop for a minute and say, "You know what? What are my first, second, third consequences of this decision? If I take this risk, what are the first, second, third consequences? What can happen?" Okay. For example, let's say you're gonna go to a party. Okay. First of all, what if someone invites you to a party? Lorenzo's behind me right now. He's watching this. You're gonna go to someone. Your friend calls you. Okay, let's go to a party. Right off the bat, you're gonna be like, all right, I want to go. Stop and say, okay, you know what? What are the first, second, third consequences of going to this party? Because if you're gonna drive, you could get in an accident. Okay, if you're gonna drive, you could get a DWI. Okay, who's gonna be at the party? Is there gonna be drama there? Because if there's drama, it's gonna cost you money. Whenever there's drama, you're gonna lose money. Okay, that's an extra tip. I threw that in. So you always want to look at calculated risk, first, second, third consequences. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, take some time, study this stuff, study your business, study your market, study your sales, study leadership development, study some accounting. Just get familiar with each department. That way you know what you're going into, and your business has a better chance to succeed than a lot of businesses that open that they just have an idea, they just have a vision. They said, I feel good about this, let's do it. 6 months later, they're out of business. Have a good year.